what was different about this work that Yisrael Hawkins did um, to other works that are out there? Because there are other people, for example, the Temple Institute in Israel. There are other groups that are really pushing the rebuilding of the temple, and they also have some models out there. I've seen some of them, and the can you comment somewhat on the some of the differences?
Sure.
And
Well, yes, and I've seen many models myself. If you travel to Israel, you can spend a week looking at all the different models, and many of the Orthodox organizations have their own temple models and things like that. But what I've observed, being an engineer, I've observed I've in studying Ezekiel, the chapters in Ezekiel which give the actual measurements of the temple. I've observed that this design, the design that Yisrael Hawkins overseed, he measured and oversee the drawings for this design fits perfectly the dimensions in Ezekiel, in these chapters in Ezekiel. And there's some things I'd like to point out to you which are extremely significant. In Ezekiel chapter 40, if you begin reading in verse 2, it says, "In the visions of Yahweh he brought me into the land of Israel, and set me upon the greatly exalted mountain, and on it like a building of a city on the south." So just to look at a couple key points on this, we have the vision of Yahweh shown to Ezekiel. He was taken, and actually he was taken to the Temple Mount, where it says here an exalted mountain. It's speaking of the Temple Mount. He was taken to an exalted mountain, but the other key thing here that people don't realize, he saw a building on the Temple Mount, and he describes it as like a building of a city on the south. It's almost as if he didn't recognize what he was looking at.
wow, and this whole thing, this whole verse that you're reading here, it's like one of those sci-fi movies where you jump into a time machine and you zoom
Sure.
to the future, and that's what it looks like here. It's a vision. He brought him to some time in the future,
Right.
where the temple was there and a building was sitting right beside it.
Right. Well, we know the Dome of the Rock wasn't built until I think the 7th century. I believe the 7th century was built.
Right, right. My understanding is 692. Year
Okay.
692.
Okay.
That's like over 600 years after the Savior died and was resurrected.
Yes, yes, and so this building of building of a city on the south that the prophet Ezekiel is seeing is the Dome of the Rock. It's
Wow.
it's the building that
Isn't
exists
that
there now.
incredible? I mean, when you think about it, the prophet was showing us that there was going to be the Dome of the Rock several hundred years before it got there.
Right. It was
You know?
a prophecy in itself.
Wow.
And see, Israel Hawkins recognized this because there's a lot of controversy with respect to the Dome of the Rock and the true site of the temple.
And it seemed to it connects quite clearly with what we just read in Revelation, because
Right.
Revelation is telling us that to leave the outside, don't bother measuring that because it was given to the Gentiles.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's the correct understanding of the reason the outer court was left out in that prophecy. In the model which we see behind us, we see the Dome of the Rock off to which would be the south side of the Temple Mount of the inner court. So what you see in the model behind us it represents the inner court of the temple, and this being the east side of the temple. Okay, and so that would be directly behind us would be the west, the north, and the south.
Okay.
So as you see the the model of the Dome of the Rock is on the south,
Just exactly as Yaketska saw it.
just exactly as
Wow.
Yeketska saw it. Yes,
That is
Ezekiel.
amazing. Now, I don't think our audience really understands the significance of all of this, but I mean, you could just go on YouTube and look, type in temple model, and you will see. It seems to me the general consensus on among a lot of Jews is that the temple, when it's rebuilt again, they are looking to have it where the Dome of the Rock is not on the Temple Mount. Now, what does that spell?
Well, that's a highly the whole topic of rebuilding the temple is an explosive topic
In and of itself.
in and of itself. That is correct.
And rebuilding it to where you demolish the Dome of the Rock is just even more explosive.
Yes, absolutely. So this prophecy in Revelation 11 and Ezekiel chapter 40 provides the peaceful solution. The inspired scriptures have already provided the peaceful solution to rebuilding the temple, the inner court only,
That is
with the Dome of the Rock to the south.
That is incredible. That is incredible. A solution is given to us, and this structure can be built and accommodate both faiths, and this is what Yahweh is telling us.
Yes, I believe it is.
But it doesn't seem to be. It's not. It's as if it's not being received, because what I've been seeing are these models where they show the temple right over the Dome of the Rock structure, clearly saying we need to get rid of the Dome of the Rock. But that is not what Yahweh told us several thousand years ago. I mean, several hundred, certainly I think over 1,000 years ago, this prophecy in Ezekiel was given, telling us, even before the Dome of the Rock was there, that the Dome of the Rock is going to be there along with the temple.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
Yahweh's telling us, hey guys, this is the way.
Right.
How can we deny that? And it says something about Israel Hawkins.
It says very much about Israel Hawkins, his understanding of the scriptures.
One thing that I know that we've always heard from him is a message of peace. It's like
Yes.
everything, he is always pointing out the wars that's going on and how we're living and the conflicts and so forth. He's always about peace. And
Absolutely.
It's the one thing that it's amazing the way it's put here, the peaceful solution to building the next temple. It's right here in the scriptures for us. We must listen to this, because if we are to go ahead and build a temple without the Dome of the Rock, we're talking about major bloodshed in that region, and
Right.
can spread all over the world.
Right.
So this is how significant this is, and we know that Israel Hawkins is the witness, and he is, as we speak, 24/7, delivering this message here, as it's stated right here in Ezekiel. This instruction is right here in Ezekiel. It says in verse 4, declare all that you see to the house of Israel. And this is exactly what he's doing. He's declaring this message to Israel and the whole world, that there is a peaceful solution to all of our problems, to all the problems that we face, all the sickness, the disease, the war, the crime, what we see going on in the schools, and all of these things. There is a peaceful solution, and there is a peaceful
Yes.
solution to rebuilding the temple.